Games aren't won on one day. Games aren't won with one play. Games are won over the course of an entire week.
This is the U.S. Bank Cougar Coaches Show on the Washington State IMG Sports Network. U.S. Bank, proud sponsor of the Washington State Cougars. U.S. Bank, the power of possible. Tonight's show is also brought to you by Northern Quest Resort and Casino, by Zeppo's, the home for the Cougar Coaches Show, and by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Now, live from Zeppo's alongside Cougar head coach Mike Leach, here's the voice of the Cougars, Matt Chazanow.
Great to be back with you. It's another game week here. We're live at Zeppo's, packed house, a great crowd. As always, a tough one in Los Angeles last week. Cougs come into this game against Utah, now 3-1, 39-36. The final, the blocked field goal at the end. I have a question here already for Coach. I wonder why. It's about targeting, something about targeting and talking about officiating. I'm not sure what Coach Leach can say about it, but I think we're all of the somewhat similar opinion that was a tough one there at the end. If it wasn't targeting, maybe it was a late hit, maybe it was roughing the passer, maybe it was all three, but or it was nothing at all. So go figure. But a tough one there, final down the stretch. The Cougs and the Trojans. USC has now won 18 straight in the Coliseum, 13 straight Pac-12 games in the Coliseum. That 18 number is the second best in the country. It's a really hard place to win. That short week road Friday game has also been really brutal. It's the return game. The Trojans came to Pullman last year, and of course there was the Cal game last year as well. That short week Friday game's really, really tough. Coach will be here in just a few minutes. Gardner Minshew played fantastic football. He really did. He played so well against USC. He's completing 71% of his passes now on the year. We're a third of the way through the year, so pretty good sample size. Not deep into league play, but 4 games in, 71% of his passes. The Pac-12 Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago. There's a group that puts together a lot of stats you may see on social media, or if you go online, Pro Football Focus. They've got Gardner as the 4th-ranked QB in the country right now. He's played really, really well. 1,547 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. Gardner's played extremely well. James Williams is 5th in the nation, 7 total touchdowns. He had the 3 rushing TD game. James has been great. And really, there's a lot of positives to take away from that game against USC. You don't have to dig too deep for them for a really big game against Utah, which comes in the number 1 defense in the nation. Utah is number 1 in points per game allowed, total defense in terms of yardage, passing yardage. So you've got the Cougar air raid pass attack with Gardner Minshew against the number 1 pass defense in the country. So what we're going to do, Coach Leach is en route. We're going to relive that USC game just a little bit, go to break, and then we'll come back here live at Zeppo's for this great crowd here, Cougs and Utes. It's week number 5. We've got week 5 coming up here, Cougs and Utes. How about that?
State 4825. Live from Zeppo's alongside Cougar head coach Mike Leach. Here's Matt Chazanow.
Coach is on his way. We've got another week here. Packed house at Zeppo's, the home game against the Utah Utes. Now, the Utes are off a bye week, so they're 2-1. They've played one less game than the Cougs. Their first win was over Weber State, was convincing. They won 41-10. And then their second game, if you were following the league, you may recall they went to NIU. That's just outside of Chicago, so a team in the Mid-American Conference, and played a really close game, actually, against the NIU Huskies. It was 17-6, the final score. Utah won 17-6. And then they they lost to the Huskies, the Pac-12 Huskies, 2 weeks ago now, 21-7. If you watch that game at all, there was a late interception from one of their defensive linemen. It looked like he had a clear line to the end zone, and he fumbled it off himself, just running with the ball, and it went out of bounds. And then Utah never scored. They never got in the end zone, so it kind of ended up 21-7 right there. In that game, the Huskies won. They got 200 fewer yards per game average, the Huskies did. They won the game, but Utah's defense is really good. They have a converted safety and a middle linebacker, a guy named Chase Hansen, who you may remember from last year's game. He's a very good player, double-digit tackle kind of guy, and they've got their big interior lineman. The right tackle, right defensive tackle is 301 pounds. Their left defensive tackle is 300 pounds. Their backup left tackle is 315 pounds. And their backup right defensive tackle is 323 pounds. So their 300 and 301 pounder are the lightest. They're the smallest of their defensive tackles for Utah. And then they've got speed off the edges, about 250 pounds. They've always got that really good D-line. Coach Whittingham, Kyle Whittingham's in his 14th year in Salt Lake City. He's the longest tenured coach in the Pac-12. Was the 2008 National Coach of the Year when they won 13 games, went 13-0 in 2008. They had a really good team, and Utah is always one of the best teams in the league. Remember last year's game in Salt Lake City? It was 33-25, and the Cougs kept stalling out in the red zone. So Eric Powell had 4 field goals in that game, but a lot of those drives that were right near the goal line kept ending in field goal kicks. It got kind of close late in that game in Salt Lake City. Hercules had one of the best games ever. He had 5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks, and the Cougs actually sacked Huntley 7 times last year, and Hercules had 5 of those. And Huntley in the game, and it was in some ways a very strange game. He had a 300-yard passing game against the Cougs. He's only done that 3 times. He's not a big-time passing numbers guy, and it just the way the game flow went. And it was actually Chima Onwukwu who had the interception late to finally seal it, because it was an 8-point game, and Utah had the ball kind of late, and it's in Salt Lake City, and you never really know. It's a league game, and Chima finally got that interception late to seal it. So Huntley had one of his 3 300-yard passing games. The running back is back. You may remember Zach Moss. He's a really good running back, a 5'10", 215-pounder. Is related to the other Moss family that is in the NFL, so Sonoris and Sonoris Moss is related to Zach, and another one from the University of Miami, Santana Moss, who played for the Jets for a long time, related to Zach. So big football family. He's from Florida, 5'10", 215-pound junior. He didn't have a huge game against the Cougs yardage-wise, but he did have 2 touchdowns last year. He's back. He's a really good player. And their leading wide receiver was on a Mormon mission the last 2 years. So their best wide receiver by numbers has been gone. He's 5'8", 170. He's just a sophomore. He's from the area. He's from Provo. And his name is Britton Covey. And he's kind of an all-purpose guy. He'll return punts. And he's leading them in receptions and yards by far. So he's got 23 catches for 262 yards. Their next leading receiver has 10 catches. So it's pretty much just been all feeding Britton Covey, and he's been the main guy. They will sample in and out a bunch of different wideouts, but they've been feeding that one-man guy. I'm told Mike Leach is here, so we'll have him here in just a moment. We've got your questions in. If you want to get your questions into Coach, if you're here in the restaurant, then we've got a bunch of these great ones written in here. And if you want to call in live, you can give us a call, 866-268-4825. If you'd like to participate live on the show, calling in, you can shoot in a tweet, M_Chaz, as well, as we get set to talk with Coach here just after Thursday Night Football, walking in from the practice field, Rogers Field. Tay Martin had a bit of a quieter game against USC. Tay didn't have the big game that he had 2 games ago, 13 catches. It was Aesop Winston with the really big breakout game. Aesop with almost 150 yards receiving in a breakout performance, and and he played really well. The receiving distribution numbers for the Cougs have been excellent. Tay with 27 catches, James Williams with 25, Jameer Calvin with 22, Dez with 19, Aesop now with 18 catches. And the Cougs have led the nation unofficially in distribution of the football, and they've really continued that with basically averaging 10 different receivers a game. So it's been the air raid doing its thing with Gardner and the rest of the guys. Dez Patman caught his first career touchdown. Took him a little while to get in the end zone. You would have thought Dez maybe had been in the end zone sooner, but he finally got in. The SoCal kid, he's from San Diego, so I know for him, I'm sure it meant a lot to go against USC and get a touchdown. A kid from San Diego like that. As Coach Leach enters, Zeppo's here. And so Dez had his first receiving touchdown and played really, really well, and so did Max Borghi, who had another touchdown run, did Max in the L.A. Coliseum. So the Cougs, again, 3-1 coming into this one, and the Utes are coming in 2-1 after that bye week and getting set to play here in Martin Stadium, what you'd expect to be a packed house. Coach, how you doing? How'd the guys look at practice today? How was Thursday night football?
Good practice. Thursday night football was kind of back and forth. Defense dominated initially. Offense at the end slugged it out in the middle. I think that both sides have plenty to be ticked off about and plenty to be pleased with, so it was a pretty good scrimmage. But had a good practice today.
We've got a bunch of questions that have rolled in here from this packed house here at Zeppo's. Let's get right to them. One of them is from Dan, and he wants to ask you about actually kickoffs. Jack Crane kicking the ball off, and I think it's kind of a philosophical, strategic question on the pop-up kickoffs. You know, if you don't blast it out of the back of the end zone, which Jack has been really good at 14 times. He's had touchbacks in 30 kickoffs. What's the method, the thought behind the little bit of a shorter kickoff, or is that on purpose? Did he just not get the full leg into it? What's the thought there and kind of the shorter kickoff there from Jack?
Well, if you're convinced you can kick it through the end zone, in our case we try to kick it through the end zone. Depending on the quality of the returner, you might pop it up and try to drop him short of the 25. And then, and then also in the Coliseum with it all closed in. And it's always been like this with the air the way it is and moist. The ball kind of hangs up there. So I think, and that was part of it there, just not sure he could get it all the way through.
A little bit different with that fair catch rule, maybe some strategy there. We got a ton of questions here I'm rolling through, and this is the first question I got. If you can't speak about it specifically, then don't. But should there be a new procedure for evaluating and reprimanding targeting calls by repeat offenders?
Yeah. We could pass around the collection hat, and I could go into some very vivid and specific detail on that. Otherwise, I think, and so I'm kind of silenced on that point other than that. But, my suggestion from the beginning is call Woody Dixon at the conference office, positive or negative, express any thoughts that you may have, those of support and those of scrutiny. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them, especially since that's his role with the conference.
He's head of officiating?
He's the head of football. He's the head of football.
Got it.
So oversees the whole thing.
I think a lot of the restaurants are on the same page on that one, but we'll shift over to this isn't.
Well, everybody can look at it and draw their own conclusions, and in some cases they may be quite consistent.
For sure. This was a question from one of the tables in here. I don't have a name on it. What's your best tip for motivating players and coaches? Maybe that's if you were to try to talk to another coach to motivate their own players and their own assistants. What would be your best tips for that motivation?
I think one thing, you got to remove as much clutter from their mind as you can. As far as we try not to have little rules, like little bitty rules. Try to focus on what counts and what's going to make us better. The other would be, there's no replacement for who's excited to play, who's excited to coach. And if you're a coach, you better make sure you're very excited to coach. And then in addition to that, players, and you want to draw on your players that are excited to play and put them in a position to where that gets contagious. And then as you have a couple examples, try to duplicate those examples. And but there's no replacement for that. And collectively, if you can get everybody doing that, that's kind of how I would define tempo. And the most important thing in football is great tempo. Everybody flying around together that can't wait to get out there and do their job.
Download the all-new WSU Cougar Game Day app presented by Gus Johnson Ford. Today, enjoy exclusive content, maps, up-to-the-minute news, live audio, game day offers, and more available in the App Store and Google Play. Download today. We're live here with Coach Leach at Zeppo's. Got a great crowd on hand. We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk more football with the head man himself here in Pullman on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
That's 1-866-268-4825. Now, back to the show.
Back here live at Zeppo's. We got a great crowd on hand. How about that custom homecoming T-shirt? That's a pretty good deal right there, Coach, huh?
Yeah,
got your face on it?
yeah. I got to get one of those things for my eyes there,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So it's for those who aren't here or not watching on Facebook, I just tweeted it out. It's your face on a T-shirt, which is not the first time that's happened, but it's your face with homecoming across the eyes there.
That way I won't lose track.
That's a good deal right there. That's a good one. It's the Cougs against the Utes. We'll go through our opponent preview in just a moment. Got a question here for you, Coach, from Coug for Life. And I think one of the things that became obvious in the USC game, if it wasn't already, is that Gardner's got some real athleticism. He rolled out there to that left side, eluded a tackle, found a touchdown pass there in the end zone. And he asks you, how much do you feel like you're able to take advantage of Gardner's mobility?
You know, the best thing about Gardner and his mobility is he's smart with it, because there's quarterbacks that are more mobile that aren't as smart with it as he is. You know, they'll look at the first read and just take off running, or else they'll go back there and run in a circle and take their eyes off the field. He's very smart at the way he runs. And then, so I think his selecting when to go, when to break the pocket, where to go is really good, and a very one of the best I've had with that regard. Graham Harrell was really good at that. And couldn't run as well as Gardner, but could sit in the pocket and know where the soft spot in the pocket was. But pocket presence is one of Gardner's strong suits, and then and he can get you or keep things alive with his legs too.
Yeah, if he's out there eluding tackles, those are big time DBs, USC DBs. He's shifting away from them. That's pretty good. He's got good feet.
Yeah, he does have good feet. He started out as a fullback when he was younger.
There's a question that came in here from Kevin on Twitter as well. What do you think of defensively, the way the defense went against the Trojans in the secondary and the D-line and the linebackers? What do you think of the defense?
I think most of the time it was really good, but there were some, some inconsistency with the explosives. I think, in the secondary we got to be more disciplined, with our hands and things like that. And again, some of this I can't comment on, but I thought that our DBs could have played a little sharper as things got downfield. When we affected the quarterback, I thought we were very effective, and then and we gave up the explosives. If we give up one less explosive, we win the game.
It did come down to that. The consistent thing is that you've won 9, 8, and 9 the last 3 years. The margins are razor thin. The winning margins in the league are. It just comes down to those little things sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, and really on any side of the ball, one more play. If we do one more play different, we could have won the game. But anyway, so it's we played extremely hard. I thought we played well for the most part, and just have to improve. The last play for you guys for the game, the blocked field goal. When you looked at the film on that, what happened on that one? Sometimes that's just the way it goes. Some kicks are blocked, but what was your assessment of that? Well, we should have gone down. We missed a gap, and a guy came in untouched.
Mazda hit one from 50. He's got a good leg, doesn't he? Really good.
Yeah, he's got a strong leg. We just talked to a guy from Fort Worth, and I think he's from Fort Worth.
Yeah, he's from Plano specifically, but yeah, he's from that area. Really good. Just a freshman too. That's super promising. The kicking, Dragicevic was good also. The kicking game has been great.
Yeah, they're confident guys, and you don't always get that with punters and kickers, but these guys are confident guys and go out there and they're ready to play.
Texan kickers. They're both from Texas. Dragicevic is from Hutto, Texas. I don't know where Hutto is off the top of my head.
You go through Lockhart, which is a great barbecue place, outstanding. Lockhart, Texas. There's two of them across the street that some argue are the best barbecue in the state of Texas.
Do you argue? How do you feel about that?
To be perfectly honest, I've eaten barbecue all over the state. I haven't eaten barbecue in Lockhart.
Okay.
But those are the ones that are at the top of a lot of people's list. Hutto's right there, kind of between, sort of between Austin and Houston.
Got some questions here off the football field. Is homecoming? We mentioned that with got the Coach Leach T-shirt for homecoming. Is there a particular? And I don't even know if you even know how this works week to week, because you guys have the football obviously to work on. There are fan giveaways from time to time. Is there a fan giveaway that you're aware of that you like? The question is, what would you like to see given away to fans for homecoming? I know they do Butch bobbleheads sometimes. There's all kinds of stuff like that. You ever see one that you had any particular affinity for or anything like that? Maybe like a Mike Leach bobblehead? Did you? I mean, I know I have one. I have one of those. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, those bobbleheads have a funny way of making you look fatter than you are. I think, shoot, I don't know. I mean, stuff like towels are good because they wave them all around in the stadium, and so that has kind of a, the kind of a movement effect. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about giveaways too much. When I was a kid, if you went to a baseball game, it was always cool to get a miniature bat.
Yeah. I always like bat day. They like the towel idea at this table right here. They did the towel wave.
Yeah.
This next question is kind of apropos. Coach Leach bobblehead. Coach Leach bobblehead meets Butch bobblehead. What do they say to each other?
The funniest Butch story I have, I think I've told it before. We were down there in Portland doing a because there's been a lot of Butches and they're all tall. If you notice, they're all tall.
Right.
You can't fit in the uniform unless you're tall. And then, so we're at the fundraiser, and and this was not one that I would consider short. And so we're at the fundraiser, and people are filing out because we're all taking, the same shuttle to the hotel or whatever. And so, there's all these people, and they're typically Washington State staff and stuff waiting. And I go, and Butch has been at the event the whole night.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I go outside waiting for the shuttle, and then there's this young fella, and boy, he's sweaty from head to toe, and I mean, he's just dripping sweat, and I'm thinking, now who's this? I mean, is he here to pick up his parents, his sister, his brother, his mom, and I'm wondering, who is this guy? So as I'm thinking and putting it together, and doing the whole deduction stuff, and I turn to him, I go, "You must be Butch." and he goes, "Yeah, we're not supposed to say anything, but yeah, actually I am Butch." I go, "Well, it's a pretty hot night in there, huh?" And he says, "Oh, it was really hot inside that uniform." He says, he goes, how could you tell? I go, "'Cause you're the sweatiest person out here." And he says, "Yeah, I was gonna wait and shower when I got back to the hotel." So that was Butch.
Sweaty Butch. There you go. All right, we're up against a break. We're going to take it for the world's most refreshing beer. 21 means 21. Celebrate responsibly with Coors Light, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Back here live with Coach Leach next from Zeppos on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
Proud sponsor of the Washington State Cougars, the power of possible. Once again, here's Matt Chazanow.
Back here live, we're talking football with Coach Leach. We've got Utah Utes coming up in Martin Stadium. It will be a packed house. It's been just absolutely gorgeous here on the Palouse. Beautiful fall weather, and might be my favorite time of year here on the Palouse. Coach, what do you think? Is this your favorite time of year on the Palouse, this fall weather, when the leaves turn and all that stuff? Are you a fall guy? Is that how you feel?
I think the players are, for sure, because you go out there and practice. It's really pleasant.
Yeah.
You don't sweat as much, and it's football weather, So it's really nice. And then, of course, it's a real pretty time of year.
Yeah.
I like the summers. I like it all. I like it when it's, though, well set into fall, so you can count on it cool every day. And then I like the dead of winter, as long as it's not during the season. But when there's snow and stuff like that, and it sticks around for a while, and it's not just muddy and ugly. And then I like, all the soft snow, I like that. And then summer's outstanding here.
Yeah, what about the Lewiston weather? What about the 100 degrees down there, those 2 weeks or so?
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. That's kind of part of it. You feel like you're in the middle of, something tough, which is football. And then, you feel like you've accomplished something just by going out and working extremely hard in that weather. And so, yeah, they take a lot of pride in that. And then the other thing is where we practice, we practice at a junior high school, so it's all very old school atmosphere and stuff like that. And, and that's where all these guys first started to love football. And so we try to bring them back to that.
Let's go to the phone lines. We've got Evan on the phone. He's calling in to talk to Coach. Evan is on his way to Pullman for homecoming. Evan, you are on live here with Coach as we're live from Zeppo's. Evan, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Mike Leach, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? All right. So I got two quick questions here. One for you is, do you often talk to the sideline reporters at halftime? I'm just wondering, sort of as a request, could you just tell those sideline reporters sort of a random story sometimes completely unrelated to their football question?
Yeah, I've done that.
That's my request. I think it'd be pretty funny.
I've done that, and I'm certainly not against doing that. I try to make them short. The first thing is, in my case, I'm calling the plays. So I'm collecting thoughts on both what we have to do offensively and then team-wise, as far as that period of time there in the locker room. And then so my first thing, and I have a lot of respect, especially for Jessamyn McIntyre, who is successfully very adept at catching me. So the first thing is I look for an opening. Do I have a break? Can I make it out of there unscathed and not talk to anyone? And then I'll run them for a little bit, and then But the one thing that I will do, if they get me outflanked or they get in front of me, because I try to give them a sporting chance, so I won't make them miss and then dart away. I might put a move on them as I'm running them, but once we're face to face, I don't make them miss right there. And then so then I'll answer the question the best I can, and then I'll make them move while they're asking the question sometimes too. Like, all right, fine, ask. Here we go. We're walking, and I'll gear down a little then, and because I do have good sportsmanship, at least with regard to that. And then, but no, I've gotten some that are pretty good at it. Guys with a bunch of cords they want to pull, they're easy prey. It used to be women that would wear high heels that would sink into the field. Pretty soon they'd, be 45 degrees backwards with the heels stuck in the ground, and so they were easy to make miss. Now they've got onto me, so they're wearing tennis shoes.
Smart. Evan's trying to make Jess's job just a little harder. Evan, you had a second question? We still have Evan? I think we lost him. Evan, thanks for the call. Evan's trying to make Jess is tracking you down, but I don't know if Evan has too much sympathy, quite honestly.
Well, I'll tell you, she's kind of gotten to where it's an art. She'll get a head start too, which I'm not sure that I'm enjoying the same sportsmanship I offer her, because especially if we're on offense as the half's winding down, she'll get in position where she's got the angle on me the whole thing. And has done a pretty good job of catching me. And he'll catch me before I get halfway there sometimes. The national media, they have a tougher time.
Yeah, she actually told me, and I'm going to blow her cover on this. This is just a random coincidence. She told me she was going to call into the show tonight. She said she was listening and was going to call in. So we'll see if we can actually corral we'll allow her to retort in some way.
Well, and
it's only
maybe
fair.
if we can uncover some of her secrets, then we can make this a little more exciting than it's been the last couple games.
A true joust. U.S. Bank, proud sponsor of the Washington State Cougars. U.S. Bank, the power of possible. Evan, thanks so much for calling in. Have a safe drive down 195 there, and we'll take a break and come back live here at Zeppo's on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
Show. Time now to look ahead at this week's game with the Coors Light Opponent Preview. Coors Light, the world's most
Put her on the air,
refreshing beer.
okay? All right, we're back here live at Zeppo's. We're going to steal Coach Leach and get him back on the headset here. Coach is always bombarded by fans in person here at Zeppo's, as it is the Cougs and the Utes, and we're working our way through now. Generally, this is our scheduled opponent preview, but she was listening. We do have her on. Jessamyn McIntyre is live on the broadcast. Packed out. Round of applause for Jess. So, Jess, here's the context of this. We had a caller, Evan, who's listening right now, driving down to Pullman for homecoming. He said that he wanted Coach to just retort with random anecdotes to you, kind of like a Greg Popovich type thing. And I said, well, you're just trying to make Jess's job a little bit harder. And then Coach said, you're quite good at really cutting him off at the pass. So Coach wants to know your secrets for stopping him to the locker room. He wanted to get it out in public.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, guys. It's more about, practicing in the classroom. I watch a lot of film study. I see your angles. I know your tendencies. And I know that sounds a little suckerish, but if I'm going to keep up with a professional like you, I got to become a professional myself. And that's just what I've been doing, is studying your tendencies. And also, I work out a lot more so I can keep up.
Yeah, she's a pro. She's a pro at the craft.
Yeah, she's pretty spry. There's no question about that. One tip I never should have given her, and that was the fault on my, underestimating, not respecting your competition. Told her, don't wear high heels, and of course she never did, which that wrecked a significant portion of my fun. And then, but now the art of timing it, drifting over there, getting in position. In one game, I can't remember which it was, is either Wyoming or Eastern. She's working her way towards the sideline, edging on the field, almost their son, extra person on the field, getting ready to go, watching the clock, sitting on ready, waiting on go. I mean, and then fires out there, and I make it probably 15 yards, and that's it.
Yeah, she's all over. Jess, any other before we keep you any further? Any other thoughts you want to offer here? We got a packed house here at Zeppo's. I mean, it's slammed. It's all ears for you here. Before we go on to the next segment, preview the Utes.
Well, I just said go Cougs to everyone there at Zeppo's. I can't wait to be in Pullman tomorrow. And Coach, I'm always going to get. You can slow down because I'm going to get either way, but I don't mind you keeping me in shape with a little bit of a run every once in a while, but I'm going to be there. So if you look to your left, look to your right, Jessamyn McIntyre with the mic.
One time she told me it wasn't fair. It's like, hey, I caught you. And then, somehow there was unfair play. And then I didn't want her to feel cheated in any way, so then I stopped,
Any coaches show where we get the classic Jess laugh on the air is really, really a good show. Hey,
at Tech sometimes I'd get up that tunnel, and then I'd turn, wave at him and say, look, here, tunnel, too late. I'd give him the better luck next time.
Hey, before we cut Jess loose, she gave everybody here a Go Cougs. How about everybody here give Jess a Go Cougs? There you go. Hey, thanks for calling, Jess. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Oh, all right. That's Jessamyn McIntyre. She does such a good job on the sidelines. Really does. So fun. Hey, this is our opponent preview section. Let's talk Utes a little bit. Defense is ranked number 1 in the nation in total defense, yardage, points per game allowed, passing yards. That's a really good Kyle Whittingham D, isn't it, Coach?
Well, they're always good. Everybody asks for all these differences. There aren't any differences. They're always good. They're, they're always real physical. They always try to hit you as hard as they can. They want to send a message. They want to make sure they tattoo you in a way that that it was them on an individual basis that hit you. And then their secondary's been together for a while too. Yeah,
they've got veterans, 2 senior safeties, a junior corner, 2 senior linebackers, a really big interior lineman. It's kind of what they always do, but it's come together really well for them this year. They're like I said, number 1 in a lot of ways. What about offensively? How about there's another set of returners? Moss, Huntley, Covey's back from his Mormon mission. This is a Ute offense that fans will remember the quarterback and running back, I think.
Oh yeah, no, those guys are good players. I'm thinking Covey's got a little unfinished business out there on the mission field, and he probably ought to go tend to that this week. They're good players. Tyler Huntley's got good feet and can move around, strong arm. Moss is kind of he's one of those guys that. Doesn't just get the easy yards, can get the tough yards, and then Covey keeps that stuff alive. You gotta keep an eye on him, whether it's short or deep.
You've known Kyle Whittingham a long time now, haven't you? You guys have been going at it now for quite a bit. He's a really good coach, isn't he?
Yeah, he does a good job. I've always thought that what he does defensively is somewhat similar to what we do offensively, and so I've always admired that.
All right, that's our opponent preview section. Clock never winds down at Northern Quest. 24/7 gaming, great restaurants and lounges, movie theaters, luxury rooms, and more. Details at northernquest.com. Back here live at Zeppo's next on the Washington State IMG Sports Network.
866 Talk. 1-866-268-4825. Live from Zeppo's alongside Cougar head coach Mike Leach. Here's Matt Chazanow.
Back here live at Zeppo's. We are on the back end of the show. It's the Cougs against the Utes. Got a question for you from Tom from Fort Worth, who's in the crowd here tonight. After the game, you shake hands with the opposing coach. What's that conversation like? Win or loss, or is it depend on the history of, you and Kyle Whittingham have known each other for a long time? How much does the discussion vary with the post-game handshake? What's that like?
It's a waste of time, and they ought to stop doing it. No, they really should. They really should. It's crazy because, as much as I like some of these coaches or whatever, if you get beat, you don't want to talk to them. And if you beat them, they don't want to talk to you, so you're sympathetic to that. And I've always thought that in any time they get in trouble with, players or coaches, it's always, after, it's pretty hot and intense during the game, and then all of a sudden the extracurriculars go on, after the game when they shake hands. Major League Baseball has it figured out. Major League Baseball, they're wrong about some things, but what they're right about is this. I mean, whether we're friends or not friends, you can always call these people on the phone, I've discovered. And then, and all that being the case, no, you got to just turn around and go to your dugout. That's what I think. And some handshake, which people do, even if they can't stand the guy and even if they don't want to shake the guy's hand, they'll do it anyway so it looks right. Well, I mean, it's phony on its face, and there's not a coach that likes doing it, and those that do they're thinking about way more than they need to be thinking about. And then, no, I think you should turn around and go back to your own dugout, and that doesn't illustrate poor sportsmanship. It illustrates, okay, I got to go tend to my team, negative or positive, and move on to the next one, and you guys got to do the same. So I think that's the way they ought to do it.
Well, there you go. Tom, thanks for the question. Tom from Fort Worth, appreciate that. We will have one more opportunity to get your write-in questions if you want to get them in. If you want to call, it's 866-268-482. I tell you what, actually, Tyler's on the phone. Let's go to Tyler before we get to this break. So Tyler's on the phone on the way to homecoming, I am told. He just dropped off, so maybe we'll get Tyler back. Tyler, if you're listening, give us a call back, 866-268-4825. But we'll take that break. We'll come back here live at Zeppo's on the Washington State IMG Sports Network. You're live here at Zeppo's. Tyler, you are on live here with Coach Leach. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey, Mr. Coach Leach, quick question for you. Last week during USC, Tate Martin was kind of absent during the game. How do you plan on getting him back in the game and starting him off early?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing is I think that he needs to play a little more consistent. We worked on that and a little more aggressive with his hands. And the thing is, he just needs to get in a rhythm, and I think he will. And obviously the guy across from him was a quality player, but and Tay's had a lot of great games, and he's going to have even better games than whatever we think his greatest game here was. And I think those are ahead, but this would not be one of his best.
All right, Tyler, thanks very much for the question. We're going to take it off the football field for a moment. Shameless plug for a podcast that we do. It's with Super Dave Emmerich, Alex Brink, Jed Zilla, and yours truly, Jed Collins. We have so much fun, and I want to bring Coach in on a little bit of we do a poll after each show. It was who does steak the right way, okay? We had 1,000 people chime in. It's like took off. Everybody wanted to talk about steak, which sounds about right. Brink got the win by far. 60% said that Alex's filet medium rare was the play. Okay, and you guys will love this. My wife crushed me for this.
Did you guys taste it? Have a taste contest?
Well, we should do that. And we've had a lot of grand plans about getting you in on the podcast, and we'll talk about that. But Super Dave at 19% likes his filet medium. 11%, and my wife killed me for this, filet medium well. And I just got slaughtered for this. Just crushed. I love it.
Well, that's an inability to make a decision. But go ahead.
And then Jed Zilla, Jed went T-bone medium, and people didn't like the T-bone cut. So what's the call? And my wife, for the record, goes Pittsburgh style, but that's seared on the outside, rare in the middle. That's what. Yeah, I thought everybody. So what do you say?
Well, that Pittsburgh style is a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
But you want to do that. You want to do that with ribeye medium rare. That's the best one.
All right, yeah. Everybody had some passionate Twitter work. I mean, people went top rope on it. It was great. I love the passion.
And then I'll tell you, ribeye medium rare. That's the way.
So we have a really good time. So if you are on Twitter, again, I'm plugging this thing because we have a great time. About 20, 30 minutes. Give it a click and a listen. All right, Coach, you got homecoming week here against the Utes. Should be a packed house. Really big game. Huge thanks to Jerry Kylo, who does such a great job. The Jerry Kylo fan club in full effect here. Jerry does such good work. We got a secret weapon in the corner over there. Jared Prengruber, who doesn't ever take any credit for anything, does fantastic work with the Cougar video department. Let's give Jared a round of applause. Dom Catronio is back in the U.S. Bank Network studios. Dom's awesome. He's there with us every broadcast. Much thanks to the callers who called in, Evan and Tyler and everybody who participated. For everybody who came here to Zeppo's, round of applause. And, Coach, good luck at Martin Stadium against the Utes.
Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward. It'll be a tough challenge, so we need everybody there at the stadium, and we need that place loud and rolling like Martin Stadium can be.
Students have done a great job, haven't they? The home students.
Our students do an outstanding job. We have the best student section.
No doubt. The students will have that place rocking. Thanks so much for everybody who showed up. Great crowd tonight. Go Cougs.